Good afternoon. We are pleased to have you join us today for our virtual town hall hosted by Digital Promises League of Innovative School. Through the COVID-19 pandemic has been disruptive to traditional classroom instruction. It has not stopped schools from engaging in powerful teaching and learning. Despite the many challenges and hardships, the crisis has revealed opportunities for school districts to innovate while maintaining robust and meaningful educational experiences. Today's virtual town hall will focus on how league districts are sustaining powerful learning and teaching in the midst of the pandemic. We will be discussing powerful learning models that have enabled our districts to deliver effective teaching and learning during the pandemic while continuing to keep the kids at the center. Good evening, everyone. Afternoon, everyone. My name is Dwayne McCleary. I am the host for today, and I'm also the director of the League of Innovative Schools. Last October, I conducted a league road trip for a few of our Northeastern League schools, socially distanced, of course. This opportunity allowed me to see firsthand the powerful learning and to share it with the world. So here for the first 6 minutes, I will give you a quick recap of the first leg of my road trip.
Welcome to Meriden Public Schools. I'm here at Nathan Hale Elementary School with Principal Karen Dawn, Assistant Principal Eric Rank, and from Central Office, our Director of Technology and Curriculum, Barbara Hafner. We just want to welcome the League here to Meriden and thank Digital Promise for visiting with us today. Thank you. Stay well, everyone.
So these are the signs, the template for the signs that are out on the nature trail. They're all made by a committee of teachers here, our science team. They're based in the NGSS science standards, and we're about to see some 5th grade classes that are doing their curriculum lessons. Oh, you've got something too?
They don't like the lights, so I'm giving them.
Oh my goodness, they don't like the lights?
Yeah, that's.
Hey, welcome to Pascack Valley Regional High School District. I'm Eric Gunderson. I'm the Superintendent of Schools here. And I'd really like to welcome Dwayne McCleary from the League of Innovative Schools who paid us a visit today. And who better to welcome Dwayne specifically to Pascack Hills than our very enthusiastic and fantastic first-year assistant principal and former math teacher, Charlene Schwartzman.
Hi everybody, hi Dwayne, it's so nice to meet you. I just want to say that this is by far one of the best places to work and to come to school in. I am so excited because this is the year of craziness, and within the realm of all this, we have been able to get kids in here. We've been able to figure out, how to make things work with kids who are at home, kids who are coming to school, kids who are here some days, some other days. And our teachers have done an amazing job of finding ways to support their kids and to make their lessons interesting.
exploring the different properties of water, cohesion, adhesion, and by giving them different challenges, how are they going to get water from one beaker to another just using a piece of string? Is working with him together. They're trying to brainstorm this virtually and in person.
So you have a student here with you virtually that's helping you with the lab.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey everyone, Mike Nagler, Superintendent of Mineola Public Schools. Welcome to Amy Chojanowski, our awesome middle school principal. And you can tell we're in a school because the bells always ring.
Welcome to our day.
And a pathway for kids to demonstrate. So Harrison, my friend here, is going to hold that up. So if you came in here and look at, where's your portfolio?
Probably.
Check out what you have with some of your badges. So you've already had mastery, you have 5 mastery badges already, and rocking on the micro credentials with 66. Look at that. And we just keep going. So his digital portfolio here not only includes coding, it includes social studies work, he's got essential questions in here, and a pathway, the mastery badge are pathways with multiple micro badges in them.
Padilla, the proud superintendent of the Newburgh Enlarged City School District. We're here at one of our amazing schools, Gidney Avenue Memorial School. It's an elementary school, pre-K to 5, and they're just doing phenomenal work. We had an opportunity to talk to a couple teachers and pop into a few rooms and just hear firsthand what teachers are doing to make this hybrid environment work for students.
All righty. So before we begin, I wanted to go over a few of our housekeeping rules. All attendees will be muted and will not be able to talk. However, we will ask you to put your questions in the Q&A for our panelists. If you see or hear anything that you agree with, please feel free to show your support by adding comments in the comment area. For the first 20 to 25 minutes, I will moderate a discussion with the panelists. And for the last 20 minutes, we will shift to a town hall Q&A, and we invite you, the audience, to drop your questions in the Q&A option. Before we begin, we would like for everyone to go ahead and drop in the chat where you're located, your city and your state. All right, now, the time we've been waiting for, I would like to introduce our panelists. Let's welcome our League of Innovative School panelists, Mr. Mark Bonini, Superintendent of Meriden Public Schools in Connecticut. I'm sorry, Dr. Mark Bonini, and Dr. Eric Gunderson, Superintendent of Pascack Valley Regional High School District in New Jersey. Dr. Mike Nagler, Superintendent of Mineola Public Schools in New York. And last but not least, Dr. Roberto Padilla, Superintendent of Newburgh Enlarged City Schools in the great state of New York. Welcome, gentlemen. Or you guys can come off mute.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, thanks for having us.
Welcome,
Hello.
welcome. So to get started, for a quick icebreaker, I will ask you guys to give me a quick, paint a picture of a high level of your district, describing your district's geography, economic makeup, student population, and your current instructional status if you're hybrid or remote. And we'll begin with you, Dr. Bonini.
Thank you, Dwayne, and thank you and welcome to everyone.
So Meriden, Connecticut Public Schools, Central Connecticut, 2 hours from Boston, 2 hours from New York City. District has approximately 8,500 students in 12 schools and 3 programs. 75% of our students identify as non-white. 77% of our students qualify for free or reduced price meals, though we're universal free breakfast and lunch. 15% of our students are English learners. We're a K-12 district, 1-to-1 for all with access provided. And I think the most important thing to share with everyone is the model we've been under right now. So we're K-8 in person every day for those who select it, but also for those families who feel the better option would be distance learning, they have that option. We're about 60% in person, 40% operating in a remote environment. Our high schools are an every other day model. So K-8's every day, high school's every other day, just because it was so difficult to cohort. We've been running a full array of extracurricular and sports programs as well.
Great. All right, Dr. Gunderson.
Thanks so much, Dwayne. I appreciate the video as well. I thought that was a nice reminder that fields are green and that trees have leaves on them and that there isn't snow always on the ground here. So that was a nice walk back into the fall. The Pascack Valley Regional High School District is comprised of 2 high schools. We are a high school district only, where we receive students from 4 different KA school districts in our community. We're about 45 minutes outside of New York City in northeastern New Jersey, middle to upper middle class community that really expects us to be continuing education as closely as possible to what our students are used to in the past. We started off the school year in a hybrid model where our high school students, very much like Mark indicated, our high school students come in every other day, and on the days that they're home, they attend school remotely. So they're in school for 4 hours in the morning. They go home for lunch because we do not have the ability to house them for meals in our building based on COVID. And then they have 2 afternoon classes that are purely online. We started off the school year with about 90% of our students opting for coming into the buildings. And now in the dead of winter, we are looking at approximately 60% of our students who are deciding to stay home. So we have fewer and fewer students actually coming into the buildings at this point in the school year. So some interesting challenges as we've progressed throughout the school year.
Great. Dr. Nagler.
Afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. Mineola Public Schools, a suburb of New York City. We have 5 schools servicing a full day pre-K all the way to 12th grade for about 3,000 kids. We're fairly diverse for Nassau County. We have about 50% of our kids identify as non-white and a 32%, give or take, free and reduced lunch. And a very large L population of primarily Spanish language. We've been to one-to-one for almost a decade now. All 5 of our buildings are Apple Distinguished Schools, which is unique for a district to be fully recognized that way. And we have a combination of in-person for those who want it, pre-K to 8, fully virtual schools staffed outside of our regular school program for anyone who wants that. And our high school is a hybrid model every other day. So as Mark and Eric just described, we've had ebb and flows of attendance and people in and out, but primarily we just accepted some kids back. So I'd say about 15 to 18% of our kids are completely virtual. Other than that, they're in school.
Awesome. Dr. Padilla.
So good afternoon, everyone. Dwayne, thank you. Good reminder of that road trip that took place. It's almost a year ago. Wow. So the Newburgh Enlarged City School District is about an hour north of New York City, right along the beautiful Hudson River. We have 12,000 scholars across 14 buildings. We offer pre-K through 12th grade. Demographically, we're about 55% Latino, 25% Black, and 20% white. So we're fairly diverse. about 80% free and reduced lunch. And we started the year, we're currently in a hybrid model, an AABB program. We started the school year fully remote for the month of September. Then we transitioned to hybrid after Thanksgiving. We needed to transition back to remote, came back in January to a hybrid model. And now we are looking to offer 4 days of in-person instruction. So kind of the quintessential example of what's happening across the country, where districts have to pivot from in-person to virtual and then back to in-person. So that's exactly what we've been doing since the start of September.
Awesome. So yeah, it does seem like a long time from the road trip, coming out to see your schools, and I kind of miss it. Make me want to come back, but not in the snow. It's getting crazy. So let's jump right in. How do you define powerful learning for your students and teachers? And we'll start with you, Mark.
Sure, thanks. To me, powerful learning is high engagement. It's learning that can be applied to the real world. It's authentic experiences. But most importantly, it's fun, where students don't want to stop. They want to be involved. They want to be engaged. They want the learning to continue. That's what will make learning most powerful for students.
So I know when I came to see your schools, one thing that I really enjoyed was the outside. Like, you had me out in the woods with my nice shoes on. So tell me a little bit about that.
Dwayne, you did have some nice shoes on that day too. So we brought in tents. Some of the advantages we have is our schools do offer some terrific outside areas for learning. And obviously this pandemic really made us think how we would use all of our space, but also our outside areas. And I think the video showed a little bit. We had a gardening group, a class doing some gardening and some learning that way. But we also had a nature trail that students participate on. And that's what we made Dwayne truck through, was our nature trail. And the students were just so excited to share their learning. I think you felt their energy out there. They were outside, they were learning, and they were having fun. And I think that's what powerful learning is all about.
Yeah, I learned a lot about earthworms that day. Dr. Nagler, how do you define powerful learning in your district for your students and teachers?
Well, Mark took my answer. So yeah, I would say everything Mark said, and I would add a personalization, or the ability for kids to know what they don't know and work at improving those skills or concepts. We spent a lot of time on individual pathways in our various platforms for kids, so they find success at various points, and ultimately are covering the same material that everyone in the state does. So I think that's a component that's critical, especially when we get to this digital world that we're in, and we're all transitioning to more and more online work for kids, that we also individualize it as we do it.
So I know when I came to your school, I was floored by the way that your kids were utilizing micro-credentials, something that we're just introducing to some adults. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, a few years ago we started, we hated our kindergarten report card. We thought it was just cumbersome and it really didn't tell much. So we switched to badge book. And we got the concept from another league district, Elizabeth Forward in Pennsylvania. We borrowed it from them and we made it our own. And great success, because you earn a badge if you can demonstrate the criteria. It's really cut and dry. And we continue to build that. K1, this year we introduced second grade. Next year we're going to third grade. And in the second grade, the twist this year is multiple badges make up one standard. Because we know that standards are end of year achievements, or we look to end of year. So we took up every standard and we broke it into pieces, and the pieces are the micro-credentials. So as kids earn those, they're on a pathway to a standard. And we take all the standards and we mix them up in an integrated curriculum. So we mash everything together. So by badging everything and making it micro-credentials, it makes it manageable when you mix the subjects together. So we like to say around here, we are in COVID, but we don't get the year off. So innovation doesn't stop. We keep pushing it forward, and that keeps us sane throughout all of this, believe it or not.
Awesome. Roberto, how do you define powerful learning for your students and teachers?
Well, Mark and Mike just kind of took a little bit of what I was going to say. So I would kind of follow suit and say, in addition to exciting, in addition to personalization, powerful learning has to be accessible. It has to be authentic. And that's exactly what we're attempting to do here in Newburgh, in the Newburgh schools, is to remove barriers and allow children to flourish, whether it's COVID or pre-COVID, post-COVID. You know, that's what we're looking to do. Personalize it, make it fun, make it authentic, and ensure that it is fully accessible.
Yeah, so I know when I came to Newburgh, that was I think your hybrid day, but I was able to pop in and see a lot of your teachers interacting with students. Also popped into one of your school where we saw your English language learning teachers interacting with your regular gen ed teachers to ensure that tier 1 support was there. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so what you're speaking of is just the collaborative work that teachers have to engage in order to provide powerful learning to students. And, one thing that has been reinforced for me during this, this COVID period is that our teachers are doing phenomenal work. They're really pushing themselves. They're thinking outside the box. They're taking risks in ways they've never taken risks before. And I just commend them, whether they're in my district or in some of my colleagues' districts. Teachers are really stepping up and deserve all the just all the appreciation we can give them, because they're doing the work. So our teachers are collaborating with one another so that way they can figure out how to address the needs of students. And that's what powerful learning is all about.
100%. 100%. Last but not least, Eric, how do you define powerful learning for your students and teachers?
Yeah, to build on what Roberto, Mark, and Mike were talking about, I think a lot of our focus, especially in the beginning of the year, came down to relationship building between students and teachers, because you can't have students really engaged in powerful learning until they know that the teacher, whether that's the teacher behind a mask in a classroom or the teacher on the screen, they can't really focus on being successful unless they know that teacher truly cares about them. And in order to care, let the student know that you care about them, you have to get to know them. You have to build that rapport within a classroom. And for us, that has been somewhat of a challenge based on our current situation with COVID. So for us, especially in the beginning of the year, relationship building between teachers and students, and therefore also between students themselves, was critical to make sure that learning took place. And Dwayne, you showed that one clip of our forensics teacher and biology teacher, Mary Scarice, in that lab environment. And I think that was a good example of where students were interacting with one another, even if one student was in the lab and the other student was at home.
Yeah. So Eric, I know I also want to talk about another powerful learning piece that I saw that we talked about was the internships that you're doing in your district. Like, you're doing powerful learning in school and out of school. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have a large number of our seniors in high school who leave school for half of the day and go out every single day to a place of business or work or an organization to engage in that real world learning experience. And fortunately, due to the really valiant efforts of our internship staff, as well as our partners throughout the community, we've been able to keep that going. We were a little bit concerned that there would be some businesses that wouldn't want our students to come to their places of work, but it was exactly the opposite. They welcomed our students with open arms, and that's been able to continue. So trying to keep as much pre-COVID activity going on during COVID as possible has been a really powerful opportunity for our students, and has kept our students and our staff somewhat sane.
So who wants to take over as host?
I think we lost Dwayne there for a second.
You want to?
So yeah, Mike, let's go ahead and kick over. I know that Dwayne wanted to talk a little bit about some of the professional development that we may have implemented in each of our districts to prepare them for what hybrid or remote learning looks like for students. Does anybody want to jump in on some of the professional development that's been taking place within our districts?
Yeah, I can start that. So we put out a survey in probably end of May to our parents to ask them what was going well, what wasn't going well, and because we wanted to prep over the summer. So we got a lot of responses, and we took those responses and really structured a whole new PD. We started in the last week in June. We took a whole week for our teachers, and we started building out digital resources for them, kind of like mini coursework for not only about the technology we're using and like, you know, how do you screencastify or stuff like that, but also best ways to engage online. And we've continued that. We call them stackables. So they're like bite-sized, a couple of hour courseworks, and you can stack the coursework to earn badges. So our adults earn badges as well. And we've continued to build that library. So we really have a library of standard PD practices that we use in district that's easy, accessible to anyone, anytime. Dwayne, Eric took over.
I'm sorry.
So I'll add that similar to Mike, we surveyed, asked the same question, you know, just what's working for you, what's not working. And very specifically, we asked that of our teachers, and it resulted in teachers offering PD to other teachers. So we had well over 1,000 different training opportunities in the spring that teachers were part of, just to build their confidence, build their skills, their capacity. So we had a range of different trainings that ultimately our teachers were really appreciative of, because it allowed them to hear firsthand from their colleagues, but also attain some necessary skills that they were trying to aspire to. It led to a number of our teachers becoming Google One and Google Two certified. So I offer that.
For Meriden, similar to Roberto and Michael, we started online training through Meets. Just as we give our students voice and choice in their learning, we wanted to give our staff voice and choice in theirs. And there's no better way for our staff to learn than from their colleagues and peers. So we did our best to have our own teachers provide that professional development and growth opportunities for our staff. We also made sure on our one PD day that we made it a virtual PD day and really let teachers choose what they needed most on that day with a greater level of flexibility. And it's something we're going to need to consider moving forward for sure.
Awesome. I'm sorry about that, guys. For some reason, my power went out, and I'm so glad it came back on quickly. So next question is, what role does equity play in the implementation of Power for Learning when you're thinking of what this looks like in your classrooms? And we'll start with you, Roberto.
Yeah, this is critical. So I guess down to the more tactical means of what equity is, making sure children have devices, making sure those that need it at home have access to Wi-Fi and data plans, and making sure children have access to healthy meals. And all three we were able to do successfully, when we were forced to close. So for a district of 12,000 students, we're fully one-to-one, and we've been able to offer Wi-Fi devices to families who need them. And that was based on just tremendous support from Sprint and Verizon to support our district, to make sure our families who needed needed that support were able to get it. And this is why I mentioned before that Powerful Learning is about accessibility, and that is absolutely an equity issue. So we strive to make sure at a minimum level, our children had access to devices and data plans and meals in order to fully engage in learning.
Awesome. Mike?
Yeah, so I would add that it's also about opportunity. So if we have kids that are in person and kids that are virtual, are they getting the same experience? and that we put resources into the kids that aren't coming to school as equally as we did to the ones that do. And a lot of that has to do with quality of the digital curriculum that we have, and making sure that it's somewhat standardized so we get an even experience regardless of what setting you're in. And that I think most of my colleagues are struggling with that piece, because if you were not digital forward before the pandemic hit, you struggled with those resources, in addition to just getting the connectivity. I don't want to minimize that, because Roberto's right. Nothing happens without everyone having connectivity and broadband, not nonsense connection.
Yes, yes. Mark?
Sure, I definitely agree. Devices, access, digital content, and especially during this time, providing meals, and even during our vacation weeks or times off, we need to make sure we provided meals. But I also think it's probably two other steps that I think we need to consider, and that is the content reflective of our student populations, and is learning accessible in the individual homes? Whether you chose in person or you chose distance, there's an expectation that this learning is going to occur outside of our school walls. And is that really possible for all students?
Yep. Eric?
Yeah, so I'll go back also to what I said previously about building relationships. Our school counselors have never been more important than they are right now. Understanding the individual challenges that students are facing, as mentioned previously, whether it is issues with meals, whether it's language barrier issues, or whether it's issues with the curriculum, our counselors are on the front lines making sure that they're that conduit to understand what's happening in detail in the home, and relaying how teachers can alter what their expectations or modify what their teaching and learning looks like as a result of some of those really unique challenges that students are facing in the home. And of course, as mentioned before, the connectivity is critical. You know, having the device is critical, but making sure that students have those basic needs at home, and if not, how we can help supplement or accommodate those students is critical to this.
Great. So Eric, that leads us into our next question, because you talked a little bit about community and families. How did you guys involve community stakeholders, such as parents, in the implementation of Powerful Learning, and how did you communicate that to them? And we'll go popcorn style. Anyone can go.
Yeah, sure. So I'll go ahead and take that. About five years ago, we embarked on our first virtual learning day. It was a big snowstorm that came through the Northeast, and we decided to have all of our students attend school remotely. And it was a big deal back then. And it was mostly an asynchronous learning day because we had some concerns about power. Mm-hmm. And so when COVID came in March, we were ready to go ahead. We thought we had had a couple of these experiences previously of going remote. And so we implemented mostly an asynchronous learning experience in the beginning of COVID. And we started to quickly realize that an asynchronous learning experience wasn't really going to meet the needs of our students nor our teachers over the long period of time. So my point being there is that it's critical for us to engage students and parents in conversations about what those challenges are that they're facing at home. And recognizing that we need to be reflective of our own practices and our assumptions and change how we implement school, if you will, based on the current circumstances. So we made some pretty significant changes this year compared to what we did last year, because I believe we listened to our parents and our students as well as our teachers. So engaging in those discussions and conversations, whether that's through surveys or open forums, is critical.
Yeah, I'll quickly add, because I did something similar. In addition to surveying our community, I was holding a student town hall because I needed to hear from them. And you know, we're guilty. I think we have great intentions, but as adults, we just constantly make decisions for children. And this was an opportunity to say, you know, we made some decisions. How's it working for you? And they were honest. They gave us some, you know, critical feedback that resulted in us changing our hybrid model. And what I heard loud and clear from them and their families was that there was just way too much screen time. So from 8 in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they were on the computer 5 days a week when we started off in the spring. And as a result of the student town halls, we were able to, look at the AABB schedule and have Wednesdays be an asynchronous day with some touching in with students from teachers. So, much more flexibility, more independent work, rather than sitting on a computer that Wednesday.
Dwayne, the only thing I would jump in and add, in addition to what Eric and Roberto had shared, is the relationship with our local health department. This was a health crisis, so we invited them to Board of Education meetings. We had open forums with them, answering questions from our staff, from our families, from our students. And I don't think we say it enough. Our students have been the ones that have been amazing. They're dealing with something that no other student population had to deal with it, and they're rolling with the punches. They're the ones we should be applauding right now, because the way they've embraced this new learning concept and how they've kind of led all of us with their positive approach has been tremendous. So I can't thank our staff's been terrific. Our families have been supportive, but our students really are the true heroes of all of this.
Yeah, I agree. I would also add that we shouldn't minimize the value and the power of communication, whether it's frequent updates. We use Twitter a lot, and we hashtag around Mineola Proud. And one of the powerful pieces of that is it gives the parents a lens into the classroom to see what's going on. So just like the videos you showed, everyone has these assumptions of what's happening with masks and distancing. Take a few pictures of what's going on in classrooms.
Exactly.
The learning is as powerful during COVID as prior. And we need to demonstrate that and give them that view into the classroom. And social media is a great way to do that.
Awesome. That goes into our next question. What role does social emotional learning play in this powerful learning model, especially now with COVID going on? Like you said, kids are dealing with various things if they're home or if they're at school. What role does that play in powerful learning in your districts? And I'll let anyone jump into that one.
Social emotional learning is huge right now, right? And a big emphasis of ours continues to be on making sure that we are in touch with our students. Besides our school counselors, we have a team of wellness counselors who really work with students that are facing significant challenges right now. But it's difficult because you'll have some students whose parents are taking social distancing and masking and staying at home extremely seriously. And then they'll see their friends on Instagram, on other forms of social media, who are out at gatherings in other people's homes and essentially ignoring this. And it's taking a significant toll on our students. They're struggling with this. And I know that their families are struggling with how to best address the needs of their children at home. And we're dealing with it at school as well. So we can't minimize the significant impact that this is having on our students' mental health. So I keep going back to trying to bring back as many activities, non-academic activities as possible, to bring a sense of normalcy where we can back to the students. I mean, we've had our theater productions that have been conducting remote theater productions. I mean, it's absolutely amazing, right? Concerts that are done remotely, all to bring back a sense of normalcy, and all sorts of other activities, including athletics when we can. It's a struggle, but every little bit of normalcy that we can try to reintroduce in some way plays a big role.
I want to add on to Eric. You made me think of something that really puts this into context. And so, for anyone who has ever taken an online class, think about taking 6 at once while being a teenager with spotty Wi-Fi and your student management system crashing and needing a device to share with a sibling while trapped at home, filled with fear and anxiety. Yeah, sounds like a lot.
Yeah, I've already
That's
stopped.
that's what our children are dealing with. That's what our adults are dealing with. And what I don't have the answer to this, but what I am committed to is figuring out innovative ways, intentional, authentic ways to provide social emotional learning supports to our scholars and to our educators. Because, you know, we all believe a healthy teacher, a happy teacher is a positive impact on a child. So, you know, I think when we talk about SEL, it's both for the child and the adult.
And you really can reinforce a different way to think about teaching and learning. So when you take these constraints of testing and graduation requirements in New York, Regents exams, when you take that away and you can say to your staff and your kids, we're going to think about it differently. We should have a lot more fun and a lot less stress about school because we don't have something hanging over our heads that's high stakes. And that's the kind of message we've been pushing, to think about doing it differently while still holding a high standard to learning. And I would add that we need to get eyes on kids. We need to see them, need to speak with them every day. When we were totally virtual in the spring, that scared the hell out of me. I don't care what else you're doing, get eyes on kids, make sure they're okay. Now that we see them in person and we have a different mindset, 9 months into this, but without that, that's what school does every day. We see kids, we're the constant eyes on their well-being. So we have to be able to do that virtually, efficiently, and as accurately as we do it in person.
And I agree with everything that was shared. I think any positive SEL approach must also include some character development, character growth as well, and then a support system. So how are we supporting our students? We have a climate suite of tools, which are our climate surveys done by student, staff, and parents. But we also have a getting to know you survey where students share their interest areas so teachers can connect with their students. And, some of those surveys you may never have to read, but for that child you're really struggling to build that bridge with and connect, that's the getting to know you survey you pick up. And then we have NPS Cares, which is a vehicle for students to reach out when they're really in a bad spot and they might need a little assistance. We've also piloted transitional essays, again, letting our students guide the younger students through the learning process, which have proven helpful and something that we want to build upon.
Great. So I know when I visited Pascack Valley, Eric, there was one thing that I was really floored by, that I really saw that stuck out for your teachers, something that you were doing. And I'm going to play a quick clip of it because I think that shows your social emotional, that you were also supporting your teachers.
One of the challenges we had this year was that we were going to have a large number of staff members that would not be able to come to work because they had their own childcare issues. So what we did was we opened up a childcare facility for grade school age children. Being that we're in a high school district, this is open now to any staff member who has children grades kindergarten through 8th grade, and they can come here, engage in their own remote learning with their home school. And most importantly for us, it allows our teachers to come into the building and be with our own students. So it's really a nice opportunity to balance what is required in the home as well as what we need as a school district.
So that was something that I was like, wow, like you're really thinking about the teachers too, because not only are they dealing with the pandemic, they have kids. They have to worry about their kids' well-being. Then they have to worry about their own well-being. Then they have to worry about the other 90 kids that they're teaching. So tell us a little bit about that. What made you think of that? And I'm
sure so this started over the summer where we were trying to figure out how are we going to operate school if other schools weren't opening up their doors to our staff's children. Mm-hmm. And so we have this wonderful individual in our community who we were able to hire to oversee these grade school students, grade school age students, in a room in our library. And most of those students don't come every day. They come on their off days when they're not in their own school. And it provided a sense of relief for our staff members who were trying to figure out, well, the grandparents who used to watch my kids when I had to be at work can't do that now over fears of COVID, right? So instead of having teachers go on leave for family concerns, we opened up a space in one of our buildings for that to happen, and it worked out extremely well. And yeah, we're really proud of it, and it provided a lot of relief and a backup plan as well to many of our teachers.
Wow. Kudos to you for that. Like that was impressive. You're providing support. So I think we're at a point where we want to switch over now to our Q&A session. So I will ask that all of our attendees, if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A. It's at the bottom of your screen, of your Zoom screen. Drop all of your questions in the Q&A and I will ask them of our panelists. We did have one question come in from registration. And this one is more geared toward the ed tech community. As you know, when COVID hit, there are I'm sure a lot of you got emails around, here are some tech tools that can help you, support you. So this came from one of the EdTech community members that said, how can EdTech companies that have free pilots ensure their support is aligned to your district's goals? So I'll open up the floor to anyone to answer.
I would start with, don't make the presumption that we don't have things. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the number of emails I get trying to sell me things as if I woke up yesterday is amazing. But I think you have to start a conversation. Are you in need mm-hmm. of help? And then how can I help you? In particular, I think most people struggle with what's your LMS and how are you delivering content to kids and getting it back, and teachers can grade it. And sounds like a simple thing, but if you're just starting that's heavy lifting. And then, what programs complement your curriculum? Because programs are not curriculum and vice versa. They're not the same thing. So you have the work that you do, your teachers do with your kids, and then you have these complementary programs that supplement what you do. And that's a great conversation to have just in-house. Like we do, I can give you an example. We use something called Kidoyo. It's a platform that's for our computer science and coding, but it's an open platform that I can use for any subject. Mm-hmm. So we'll build out badges that have nothing to do with that company's work, but it's a one-stop shop for us that we can use it both sides. We can do coding work and we can do social studies on it. So but if I didn't ask the questions of that company, I wouldn't know I had that power to do that. Yeah. So those are kind of things where I think asking the questions is before you try to sell something's important.
Awesome.
And I would just jump in and add that we're looking for true partners, thought partners, people to do the work. So we appreciate the EdTech community reaching out and offering these free services. But the last thing I want to do is frustrate students and staff with a product they're not familiar with using, that they may not be comfortable with. So for us, it was, how can we leverage our current partners to support our students and families a little bit more? And they were terrific during this whole process and remain terrific partners. So we want to make sure that we have some digital content that's embedded into our core curriculum. Some is used for enrichment or extension, and also some is used for remedial or credit recovery support. So how do we make sure that we capture all of that and are not just trying to put another product on top of some products that we already have?
Yeah, great. So we have another question. What programs have been helpful? So I'll ask that you kind of look at them as like LMS, productivity tools or other curriculum tools. So what programs have been helpful for you guys in the midst of COVID with Powerful Learning?
Single sign-on for us has been huge.
Yeah, I was going to say that, Mark. Although we've experienced our fair share of frustration with one particular company that is spearheading the single sign-on capabilities, But in all fairness, good partners, problem solving with us to figure out how to remedy an outage in the region, so to speak. Is just something that we've been, with all of our partners trying to figure out how we can make sure there's continuity, because that leads to some of the frustration when something's working one day and then not working another day. And we're asking kids and teachers to go about their business and making sure that we can make sure learning is continuous. These kind of hurdles are things we've had to overcome since March. So Mark, you made me think of the same thing.
And I would add that a robust understanding of your learning management system is critical. It's one thing just to have an LMS, but really having your teachers understand how they can utilize it and have that be a uniform system across all classes for all students provides students with some continuity that benefits them. And to what Mark said before, having ed tech providers truly be ed tech thought partners and being receptive to constructive criticism or issues that you're facing is critical.
And I would add, you don't need a program. So you need an organizational structure to organize your curriculum and share work. So if you have, every teacher shouldn't be running off and making their own lessons. You could share lessons. You can build a library of digital content that you could ultimately make OER and share with everyone. We started years ago, we have a YouTube channel. We have all of our curriculum is free. It's all up online. Our badge books are online. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but the best investment you could make is pay people to create stuff that everyone could use. Instead of going to try to buy a program that may or may not work for you. Your teachers are wonderful assets to leverage for this kind of work.
Awesome. So we're about to wrap up here. I have one more questions for you guys before we wrap up. What's one thing you would like to maintain once COVID is over? What's this one thing that has really stuck out to you during this time of COVID that you wish to maintain? And I'll start with you, Mark.
Sure. Virtual parent-teacher conferences. We've had our best attendance with virtual parent-teacher conferences, and it's so easy and so convenient for everyone. It's a win-win that we should have thought of a long time ago.
Roberto?
Yeah, I'll say hybrid. And I mean more than just hybrid programming for students. I mean that as well for adults and for parents. So I think hybrid remote should be here to stay. Obviously it can use some tweaks and some revisions along the way, but certainly hybrid.
Eric?
Yeah, I would say the ability to have people pipe in via Zoom. I think that's a great system. We see it that it really works well, especially for working parents when they need to meet with a school counselor and their child. The added flexibility, it just lowers those barriers that are present for some people.
And Mr. Nagler?
I would say to alternate assessments. We had to think of different creative ways to assess kids, and I hope that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And I hope we embrace that and develop portfolios and move away from single score assessments judging kids to a holistic approach of how we determine whether kids understand content or not.
Awesome. Great. I would like to give a huge thank you to our panelists, Dr. Mark Bonini, Superintendent of Meriden Public Schools, Dr. Eric Gunderson, Superintendent of Pascagoula Valley Regional High Schools, Dr. Mike Nagler, Superintendent of Mineola Public Schools, and Dr. Roberto Padilla, Superintendent of Newburgh Enlarged City Public Schools. Thank you guys so much. I look forward to seeing my league buddy soon. Hopefully another round, second leg of the league road trip. So thank you guys so much for that, and have a good day and safe. Be safe, stay safe. All right, so to end up, the League of Innovative Schools, we are now opening up for applications. Applications are now open for league schools. So we ask that if you would like to learn a little bit more about the League of Innovative Schools and about our application process, please join us on one of our information webinars dates, February 25th at 3 p.m. or March 21st at 1 p.m. The bit.ly is on the screen, so please feel free to sign up. We are now running our recruitment. We weren't able to do it last year due to COVID, but this year, now more than ever, is the time for us to open our doors and to invite some innovative school districts out there that, one, may need support, or two, that want to share their best practices with others. Also, we would like for you to stay tuned for some future webinars that will be coming. Please feel free to watch some of our prior webinars that we have hosted at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Digital Promise. Once again, we would like to thank all of you for coming. We hope that you stay safe, and we hope to see you again.